Hi, I am so excited to be here today with Mike Constantiner. He is the co-founder of Freestyle, which is the diaper brand that I personally use for my baby. So I'm so excited to talk about this incredible product, what makes it different, and how you manage to pull this off. So thank you so much for being here today. And I wanted to ask you because you have this really diverse background. You're a serial entrepreneur, a tech investor. Like, what got you into diapers?
Yeah, my career has kind of been all over the place. But I think like the thing I like the most to do is build new products and solve problems that I see out in the world. That started with a tech product, a video app, and then eventually moved into personal care and now baby care. For Freestyle specifically, I never really sought out to be a diaper entrepreneur, if you will, right? But just kind of randomly got connected to Russ, who's now my co-founder, about 5.5 years ago through a mutual friend. And we were both in this stage of figuring out what we wanted to do next in our careers. We're both dads, and we just, we're talking about the category in general of baby care and how the legacy brands had always, they were just like stuck in, I think, the previous century in terms of their products, in terms of their marketing. We thought, there was a real opportunity to do some really innovative things in the category that made us as parents feel better about the products that we were going to put on our kids and, what we could bring to market. And so that was really how it got started.
So at Whole Bunch Club, we've gone deep into the research on all different products and diapers specifically. There's kind of like the legacy brands that you talked about, and they're inexpensive, not great. And then there's like the premium luxury brands and like these new innovators that have come out with this amazing branding and they have like a clean product. And then you come along and you're like the best of both. And it's really the only when I saw it, I was almost like, this is too good to be true. How is this really
Yeah.
non-toxic? So like first, I want to get into the basics, like what makes a diaper, non-toxic, like, and what are some things that we should be aware of, and then we'll get into freestyle more specifically.
Yeah, of course. I like to think of the analogy of like the food industry, right? Where you kind of have like your mainstream big brands that have been around forever, and then you've seen this kind of better for you movement over the past like 10, 15, 20 years, right? Where it's like, hey, like instead of taking the ketchup that has like high fructose corn syrup, like we use real sugar and less of it, or, et cetera. I think a lot of times nowadays people are very binary on like, it's either all of this or it's none of this. In reality, most things are on this like spectrum. And diapers historically, it was all driven by like price. And I think, um, realistically, just like, you got two companies that own 80 something percent of the market. They have own all the shelf space everywhere. And it's been very hard for challenger brands to kind of enter the market. I think Honest Company obviously was the first one to come in and say like, look, hey, there is like, these products are not great. We're doing something much better. And they built a really big, successful business off the back of this idea of like, hey, you can have a better option. And they had to build it through their website at the beginning because they couldn't get shelf space anywhere because those other brands controlled it. You've seen a lot of brands, over the past like 5 years start to kind of also enter into the market and say like, yeah, they're like, here, this is our take on what a better for you diaper is. Freestyle obviously being one of those as well. And I think this is really a moment where there's a real generational shift happening in what consumers expect from their diapers. Non-toxic obviously being a key element of that. From our research and our understanding, the number one thing that parents actually care about for the mass public is the actual performance of the products. And I think historically you had a lot of like plant-based natural diapers, etc. They were super expensive, and at the end of the day they just didn't perform as well as like your standard diaper, right? And so that became a real, you had to be fully committed to this idea of like, better for you, to pay more to get less. And I think a lot of, our first diaper, the Bamboo Tech diaper, was our solution to that, right? We wanted to use, more natural plant-based materials, but offer insanely good performance. And that's what that diaper was. I think what non-toxic nowadays means is that a brand is very transparent with the materials that they use in their products, that they get lab testing done, that they publish those lab results. There's not many brands out there that actually do that. And I think the ones that do that have actually benefited from their transparency.
I think I counted like 5 or 6 that share their lab results. You guys are EWG verified. Well, just go through all of your certifications, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, EWG is the newest one that we just announced. I think we're the third diaper to ever get EWG verification and the second US based brand to get EWG verification. So we're really excited about that one because, as you all know, like EWG has like the craziest database. Their restrictions, I mean, they tear apart every component of the diaper and that's weighed down to like the fractions of a gram. I mean, it is like very, very detailed to make sure it's all within like the safe limits. So that one's huge. The Oecotex 100, which is certification around the materials that they're free of over 1,000 harmful chemicals. The tree pulp we use in the diaper is FSC certified. And then we do independent lab testing to test against PFAS, phthalates, and BPAs, which are like 3 commonly found toxic chemicals in the non-woven materials in diapers. And so we do that testing through a lab called SGS primarily. There's another lab called VAR test that we also use. And basically just send them samples, like this is what we're testing against. They go in, they do the sampling, and they send us back a report. A lot of what we learned through the process of developing Freestyle over the years is that, once again, on this like spectrum analogy around like materials, if you think about like meat, like beef, right? There's like, pure corn fed, like full of antibiotics, like full of like hormone type meat. And then there's like grass fed, pasture raised, like the best stuff, right? And you find that same thing out there in terms of like quality of materials in the world, right? So, our top sheet is made from a non-woven, like polyethylene, polypropylene based fabric. But that doesn't just blanket it, once again, to this like binary idea that it is toxic. It's in the processing and the manufacturing of that material can become extremely toxic, or it can be processed and made in a way that makes it super clean. And that's why when we do that, that material is still, in terms of performance of, like when it comes to like actually like the performance of a diaper, nothing else out there compares in terms of like softness, the way it, keeps moisture away, the way it, protects against like, for sensitive skin. There's other brands out there that I'm not going to call anyone out, but you've seen other materials out there that when you think about it, it goes so much against the idea of what you're supposed to put against skin when it comes to wetness and moisture. It's just like so counterintuitive. But I think a lot of people are just like bought into this like very binary idea that like this one material is bad, this one material is good. But it's not so clear, right? Like, so that's why we're like, look, yes, we use this material. You might have read that this is bad, but that is a very like, just black and white statement. It's just kind of like saying all red meat is bad. That's obviously not true. And so, but that's why when we do it, it's like, look, the performance is amazing. And we back up the cleanliness of it by showing you the lab testing that we've done. Even like Mamavation, she lab tested our diapers without us even knowing. And like they came back PFAS free. I forget what else she tested for. So like it's not just us. Like don't just take our word. Like other people are out there testing it too.
Yeah, I read that report. It was fluorine, which is an indicator of
PFAS. Yeah, that when you test for PFAS, you're basically testing for organic fluorines.
Got it. Yeah. I've spoken to quite a few founders now of like, products in this like non-toxic kid space, and everyone has come back with the kind of similar thing that you said, that like these certifications and the process to go through is so rigorous and like they're so detailed, and that's actually really comforting to hear, especially at
Yeah.
a time when like people are very skeptical of authority and institutions, and like, oh, is this all bullshit or whatever?
Yeah.
I've heard that these certifications like are the real deal. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's great. It's really it's comforting to hear that. Um, one another thing on this is, I mean, you said you're not going to call anyone out. I will, but you had mentioned Honest, and I used Honest for my first child for 2 years. I was an Honest customer, and then I got an email from them that they had changed from TCF, totally chlorine free, to elemental chlorine free, known as ECF. You guys are totally chlorine free. Can you explain like the distinction between that, and like, does it matter?
What it is when you're bleaching the pulp inside the diaper, right? You know, it's dirty, like, right? You're taking like trees, churning them up and breaking them down into this like soft pulp, right? And that pulp is going to look dirty. And so to give it like a clean look, they bleach it effectively, right? And there's lots of chemicals that you can use to do that bleaching process. Historically, they were using some pretty like nasty chlorine based chemicals, which are very harmful when it's like, close to baby skin. I think a lot of people still use ECF diapers and have absolutely no issues on their baby. Some babies' skin are more sensitive. And so a TCF diaper is just one more layer of like assurance against kind of like anything potentially touching your baby's skin. For us, it was like, look, if we have the option of doing, just going one step further, using a process that doesn't use chlorine, then, it made us feel better.
Yeah, I like the way that you frame it as a spectrum. It's not binary. Like, there are just different things, and that's where transparency in companies is so important, because people know what works for them and their family, and like to
Yeah.
be able to make informed decisions, I think is really the most important.
Yeah.
So we've talked about like all of these amazing like safety measures and quality standards and performance that you've like put into creating this amazing diaper for the price of like a Pampers. It's like
Yeah.
half the price of the luxury brand subscriptions, and I've tried so many of them, and I'm spending like half now than
Yeah.
I was before.
Yeah.
How did you do that? It's almost like I didn't believe it
Yeah.
at first, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. I mean, you know, one of our goals with Freestyle always has been to be able to make the best, cleanest diaper at a price that, we like to say is like risk free for parents to try, right? We don't want, people to have to like shell out, like you said, 50% more a month on diapers, because that is really impactful to everyone's budget. So the construction of the new Skin Shield diaper has a really unique innovation in the core of the diaper, and that's where all the this like crazy performance comes from. And that basically allowed us to use less overall material. And so with the less overall material that we have in the diaper, we were able to price it at a point that it's basically the same thing as Pampers and Huggies. It's actually like at Walmart, it's like 1 or 2 cents cheaper than Huggies.
It's awesome. No,
Yeah, yeah.
congratulations. It's an
Thanks.
amazing product. So your branding is also, super cool and modern. I love it.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, are there any any thoughts behind that, or like what went into that?
Yeah. I mean, this is where I get like even more excited because it's a lot of this is my side of the business. I remember when my son was 2 months old, and this was 8 years ago, basically. And we were changing a diaper, and it had like a Mickey Mouse on it, and I just remember having this like moment of like, this guy's 2 months old. Like, why is Mickey Mouse on his diaper? Right? Like, he has no idea who Mickey Mouse is. He's not going to know who Mickey Mouse is for the vast majority of the time he's in diapers. And then it started making me think about like, why these brands market the product as if the kid is the one buying the product, right? They have no idea. They don't care. But, I really thought it was better to build a brand that really focused on the parent as the customer, right? And it's like, what kind of brand did I want to have in my house? It's really hard to be a parent, I think. And there's so many things you have to worry about. Back in the day, probably like when we were kids, like there weren't that many options, and it was just kind of like, this is, I don't know, that you just do this, you do this. But now there's like so many options, there's so many resources, there's so many places, and it gets overwhelming. And so, my goal with Freestyle was like, build a brand that makes it very easy for parents to feel like they're making the right choices with the products they put on their kids. And I also just wanted a platform that could be really fun and tell like different stories around parenthood that other brands historically haven't done. And so I think that was the idea behind the branding.
It's very cool. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Thanks.
Do you have any plans? You have diapers and wipes right now. Anything else or any plans to expand?
Yep. I can't talk about it yet,
Oh,
but
that's
we have
exciting.
some news. Yeah, we have some new stuff coming uh, early next year. We're really intentional with our product development. We're always trying to figure out like if we're going to dive into something, what's the absolute like best way to do this? How can we make the best product at the best price? And I think a lot of that comes from talking to customers. So I do a lot of phone calls with customers and try to get an understand of like what are they looking for, what problems are they having out there with what other products besides like diapers and wipes. Is there anything that we can you know um, that we can find a way to improve and offer to them. And so I think over the next however many years of the business, like we'll have a lot of really cool innovative products. But we're just very thoughtful about it.
Yeah. Well,
But
I'm
yeah,
looking forward to
something
that.
new, something new is coming. Uh,
Oh, looking forward to it. I'll keep an eye
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Coming from all of these different industries that you've dabbled in, anything like that really has stood out for you or that you've learned that surprised you, in the kids space?
I think the super unique thing about anybody building products in baby care is that the end user can't give direct feedback,
Hmm.
right? So like a baby can't tell you if the diaper is on funny or if the diaper is making them feel weird, right? So it takes some kind of like getting used to that and understanding that there's this disconnect between the actual end user and the feedback you're getting. And a lot of times you kind of have to take feedback with a grain of salt or dive a lot deeper.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
like your consumer, your client they can't speak for themselves. That goes back to the branding too. I mean, it
Yeah.
seems so obvious. Like obviously you're marketing to parents. We're the ones
Yeah.
and we're the ones like looking at it and
Yeah.
people now like well how things look on their shelves or whatever
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, it makes perfect sense. And
Yeah.
as long as we like it, as long as we're not cleaning, washing dirty sheets every day,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's a win.
Yeah. Look, I mean, obviously, the baby can't talk, but parents can obviously see the reaction that kids are having through rashes or blowouts or leaks, et cetera, right? So, it's it's almost like the bar is even higher for the product to work extremely well. So you want to be as like foolproof as possible, and so like that's why we spent so much time, trying to build the best, absolute best product out in the market, which we think we've done.
Well, I mean, I can vouch for it. No blowouts, no rashes. I love it.
Yeah,
I
that's
have no
great.
complaints. I have no complaints, and I'm not just saying this because I'm talking to you. I was
Yeah,
genuinely surprised in how much
yeah,
I like this product.
I love it.
Okay, two final questions that I ask
Yeah.
everyone.
Okay.
Aside from Freestyle, obviously, what are two other products that you swear by, either for yourself, your family, something that just made your life easier,
Yeah.
better, bigger?
Yeah. I've gotten really into like tallow based skin products. So I buy this one on Amazon. It's called Van or some Van Vans. I don't know. It's like, it's a little jar and it's tallow, honey, olive oil, and like one other thing I'm blanking on. But anytime I have like any kind of itch, dry skin, whatever, I put that on and it's like one use and the thing's gone. Like it's crazy. You know, it's like 4 or 5 ingredients, right? It's not like this crazy list of like things in it. It's like very inspiring to me to like try to figure out how to develop products with that level of simplicity. And then I don't know, other than that, like my
That's a
wife is
win.
really the one. Yeah, I don't know. My wife is like the one that she's way more into this than I am, to be honest.
You're the first dad I've spoken to, actually. So the
Oh,
mom's always,
nice.
oh, this is amazing for kids. This
Yeah,
is really cute.
yeah. But you know,
Okay,
my
yeah.
kids are also like, you know, my son's 8, my daughter's almost 5, right? So like I'm like out of the like real baby care phase with them in terms of all that stuff. But I'll put the tallow stuff on them anytime they kind of have any skin issues or whatever, right? I think it's just such a great product.
Yeah, my husband started using tallow chapstick, and
Yeah,
swears by
yeah,
it.
yeah. I don't know. I love it. So
Okay, so final question then. I also like to ask everyone, what words of wisdom would you go back and tell yourself before becoming a parent?
I would say anything that you're stressed about, you're gonna figure out. You know, it's this one thing that is so daunting and you're just like, how am I going to do this? I have no idea what to do. And then your baby's born and all of a sudden you just know what to do. Not always. I mean, not, you know, once again, spectrum,
Figure it
not
out.
100% of the time, right? But there's this very natural inclination to taking care of your kid in a way that makes a lot of sense to me. And even like with our second, I was super nervous about, you know, oh my gosh, what's our daily going to be like? How are we going to manage 2 kids? And then all of a sudden, you just have adapted to having 2 kids and you're figuring it out and you're going with it. And, you know, you look back and you're just like, this is just a net positive overall to my life, right? And so don't stress. Everything's going to be fine.
I like it. We all figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for your time, for answering all my questions, for creating an amazing product that I'm now going to go stock back up on because it's been
Yeah.
sold out because people love it so much.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm going to go order it right now again.
Amazing.
So look, thank you so much, and please keep me posted on
Yeah.
everything that's in the works. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It was really great to get to talk through a lot of this stuff. You know, the Skin Shield diaper is still brand new, so it's nice to get an opportunity to share with other parents so they can
Yeah,
learn more.
I'm really happy to because I'm really blown away by it, honestly.
Great.
So
It's awesome.
congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so
All
much,
right.
Mike.
Thanks, Natalia.